I was halfway through brewing a cup of coffee when Cindy walked into the kitchen, her duffel slung over one shoulder, that familiar little suitcase rolling behind her, the one she usually packed for weekend visits to her parents. Her expression was composed, too calm. She stopped a few feet short of the counter, like stepping further might trigger something. "I think I need some space," she said. I looked at her. Space from what? I already knew. But I asked anyway. "From us," she replied quietly. "You mean the marriage?" I need to figure some things out. A couple of weeks, not forever." I studied her face. No cracks. No wavering. Her tone was even, almost too practiced, like she'd gone over this speech in her head a dozen times. She seemed prepared for an argument, maybe a plea. But I gave her neither. "Okay," I said, stepping aside. "That's it? No questions?" "No." She blinked, caught off guard, maybe expecting me to try and stop her. But the truth was, I'd already felt the distance creeping in. It had been sneaking between us for weeks. Her body was still around, but her presence was half there, at best. Silence over dinner had started to sound louder than any fight we'd ever had. She headed for the front door. There was no tearful hug, no angry shouting match, just a soft, "I'll be in touch," tossed over her shoulder. And then she left. I stood there, motionless, listening to the door lock behind her. It echoed louder than it should have. That was Saturday. By Sunday, the quiet in the house had deepened. Not painfully, just noticeably. The kind of quiet that fills a place when it's no longer shared. The first week passed in a blur. I kept to routine, up at 6:15, hit the gym, got to work early, answered emails, buried myself in to-do lists. Her slippers were still next to the bed. I didn't touch them. Not to pretend she hadn't gone, but because I wasn't ready to start reshaping the space without her. I needed to see what this version of life looked like. And to my surprise, it wasn't unbearable. The silence didn't suffocate me the way I thought it would. On Wednesday night, my younger brother Jonathan showed up with pizza and a six-pack, like we were back in our college apartment. "You holding up?" he asked, glancing around. "I'm okay," I said. We didn't talk much about it. Just watched the game and traded jokes. The next morning, something small hit harder than expected. Her favorite mug, the red one with the chipped handle, was missing from the drying rack. She must have taken it. That told me more than anything else. No one takes their favorite mug unless they're planning to be gone longer than they admit. That Friday, I worked late, came home to leftovers, and put on a movie she always hated. Slept like a rock. No crying in the shower. No dramatic breakdowns. Just quiet. But not the kind of stillness she had been searching for. This felt different, something calmer. Maybe even something I hadn't realized I needed. 12 nights had passed since she left, I remember, because I had just poured a drink and was halfway through a documentary about animal migration. The kind of slow, thoughtful film Cindy used to say made her emotional for reasons she couldn't explain. Then my phone lit up. Her name. 11:40 p.m. She hadn't texted or called since she walked out. I let it ring a few times before picking up. "Hey," she said. Her voice was softer, almost sluggish. Not broken, just slowed down. Maybe wine was involved. "Hey," I said back. There was a pause. I wasn't sure I should call. "It's late." I stayed quiet. "I remembered that documentary you watched, the one about Arctic wolves," she continued. "You told me once that the alpha pair mates for life. Do you remember that?" I didn't respond. "Are you calling to talk about wolves, Cindy?" She exhaled a short breath. "No. I've been thinking about us. The silence here, it's not like the quiet at home. Yours feels intentional." Still, I said nothing. Do you miss me? She asked. That was the real reason for the call. That question. A test. I don't know, I answered honestly. Another pause. Okay, she whispered. There was faint music in the background, probably one of those old nostalgic playlists she always turned to when she was feeling sentimental. You don't have to be cold, Martin, she said. I'm not being cold, I replied. I'm being real. She didn't say goodbye. The line just went dead. I stared at the screen for a moment. Then I scrolled to her contact and deleted it. Not out of spite, but because I was done holding space for someone who didn't know if they wanted to return. The following Monday, I ran into Ava from work in the elevator. She worked in sales, sharp and blunt in a way that made most people uncomfortable. We rarely talked outside of meetings. You got a sec? She asked. Sure. She hesitated. I wasn't sure if I should say anything, but I saw Cindy over the weekend. I didn't flinch. Where? Riverfield Music Hall. Friday night. I nodded. She likes that place. She wasn't alone, Ava said, watching me carefully. There was a guy. Gray jacket. Glasses. They looked close. How close? Leaning in. Sharing a drink. Arms touching. Laughing like they were into each other. I nodded again. Thanks for telling me. You okay? I'm fine. And I meant it. That night, I went home, took out our wedding album, flipped through it for a few minutes, then slid it into a storage bin in the closet. Not because I was angry, but because it no longer felt like it belonged in the present. Then I opened her side of the dresser. A few of her things were still there, a scarf, a bottle of perfume, an old hoodie. I folded them, placed them in a box, sealed it, and left it in the garage. No letter. No theatrics. Just clarity. She wanted space. And she didn't use that space to reflect. She used it to explore someone else. The next morning, I drove downtown and filed for divorce. No second guessing. No dramatic scenes. Just a quiet, necessary decision. She'd said she needed a break. But what she really wanted was freedom without consequence. She didn't pause our relationship. She paused responsibility. Exactly 3 weeks to the day since she left, Saturday afternoon, I got home from a run. The doorbell rang. I opened it, and there she was. Hair tied back. Hoodie on. No makeup. But it wasn't her appearance that stood out. It was the way she stood, like someone unsure whether to step forward or turn away. Can we talk? She asked. I didn't speak. Just stepped aside. She entered slowly, like walking into a memory she wasn't sure would still welcome her. Her eyes scanned the living room like it had been rearranged. But nothing had changed. Only her. She stopped in the middle of the room, arms crossed. I've been doing a lot of thinking. I waited. These past 3 weeks, they've been chaotic. Confusing. But revealing, too. I thought getting away would help me understand things better. And out there, without you, without the house, without us. I realized how much I took for granted. I still didn't say anything. I miss feeling safe with you, she said. I miss the rhythm of our life, the quiet comfort, even our small fights. I miss everything, she said softly, voice cracking. I made a mistake. I want to come back. I gave her a slight nod, turned, and walked quietly down the hallway. When I returned, I was carrying a small box I had packed days earlier. I placed it gently on the floor between us. She looked down at it, confused. Her voice wavered. What's this? Your things, I said plainly. From the bathroom, the dresser, the nightstand. Her head shook slightly, as if she could will the moment into reversing itself. Wait, what are you saying? I looked her straight in the eye. You asked for space. This is where that led. She took a cautious step toward me. Martin, please. Take the box, I said quietly. Take your things, and go. Her lip trembled, but the tears still didn't come. She hadn't yet realized that the door she assumed would remain open had quietly shut behind her. She didn't reach for the box. Just stared at it like it held a truth she wasn't ready to face. I didn't think, she whispered, almost inaudibly, that you'd stop loving me so fast. I didn't, I said calmly. I just stopped waiting to matter. I was lost, Martin. Everything felt stagnant. I needed clarity. I took a single step closer, voice even, controlled. And instead of speaking to me, you disappeared. Then filled the silence with someone else. Her mouth opened in surprise. Eva saw you, I continued. At Riverfield Music Hall. Friday night. Cindy's lips parted slightly. Eva? She said you didn't look like someone who needed space. You looked like someone who had already moved on. Her throat bobbed as she swallowed hard. It wasn't what it seemed. He wasn't who I thought he was. It wasn't serious. He's not around anymore. I know, I said, nodding. And now, here you are. She didn't speak. Then, barely audible, I never stopped loving you. I met her gaze, not with bitterness or cruelty, just a quiet certainty. You miss the comfort. The rhythm. The familiar life. But you didn't miss me. She started to speak, then let her mouth close again. I was trying to build something real with you, I said. I just didn't realize you only meant to borrow it. And that, finally, broke the dam. Her tears came, streaming down her cheeks. Please don't do this, she pleaded. We can fix this. No, I said firmly but gently. You don't get to break something, test the exit, and then walk back and like nothing changed. I didn't want to hurt you, she said, her voice cracking. But you did, I replied. What you intended doesn't erase what happened. She reached out, trying to take my hand. I stepped back. This house, I said, my voice low, used to be ours. Now it's just mine. And the peace inside it? That's something you can't take with you. She looked like she wanted to scream but didn't know how. Her shoulders shook. Her breath came in short bursts. I nodded toward the box. Please. Eventually, she moved. No begging, no dramatic scene, just the slow realization that her brief absence had cost more than she imagined. A week later, Jonathan called me. Just wanted to give you a heads up, he said. Cindy asked about you. What did she say? Not much. Just asked how you were doing. If you were seeing anyone. Basic stuff. I appreciate you not telling her anything. There wasn't anything to say. Before he hung up, Jonathan paused. You don't sound angry, he said. Not even sad. Just done. He was right. I wasn't holding grief anymore. No anxiety in my chest. Number 2 a.m. spirals. I didn't feel vengeful. I felt clear. The kind of clarity that comes when you stop shrinking yourself to be enough for someone who never really saw your worth. By then, the divorce papers were signed. Smooth, civil. She hadn't asked for the house, maybe out of guilt, or maybe she already knew I wouldn't part with it. We divided everything else cleanly. No court fights. No accusations. Just 2 names, 2 signatures, and a quiet ending. When she walked out of that office, she took her copy and never turned around. Over the next few weeks, I began to fill the silence. I joined a weekend basketball league. Grabbed drinks with coworkers. Met someone. Her name was Julia, sharp-minded, honest, no mind games. Things felt light. Easy. Real. Cindy didn't come up, and I didn't bring her up. Every now and then, though, someone from our shared past would message me. She asked about you. She still loves you. She regrets it. I started replying the same way every time. Please stop telling me. I'm not listening anymore. Not out of malice. Just because it no longer mattered. Cindy made her choice. And I made mine. The difference? Mine was permanent. You can't rebuild something when only one person is still carrying the weight. I wasn't going to be that person anymore. The silence she left behind used to echo in every room. Now, it just sounded like peace. 3 months later, I received an invitation to Michael's wedding, a college friend we both knew. I went alone. Navy suit. Clean shave. No expectations. About 20 minutes in, I saw her. Cindy stood near the bar, holding a glass of white wine, laughing politely at someone's story. Her hair was shorter now. She looked thinner. Or maybe just tired. She noticed me before I could turn away. Our eyes locked. No smile. No wave. No approach. Just a brief, quiet exchange across a crowded room. And then it passed. No drama. No confrontation. Only a silence that carried more weight than any words could. Later that evening, I stepped outside for some air. My mind drifted to the first time Cindy and I danced at a wedding. How tightly she'd held my hand. How certain everything once seemed. Then I thought of now, this moment, full circle, where I could look at her across a room and feel nothing pulling me back. That was the true ending. Not the packed box. Not the final argument. Not even the signed papers. It was that glance, that shared understanding that the chapter had closed itself. A few friends invited me out for a drink. I said yes. As I stepped out of the venue, I looked back once. Cindy was still inside, surrounded by familiar faces. But to me, she was no longer in focus. I turned toward the street, hands in my pockets. And for the first time in what felt like forever, I didn't feel like I was missing anything. Not her voice. Not her presence. Not even the silence. Just peace. And that was more than enough.